Okay, so I've never come across a standard color profile on any of the current action cameras or recent action cameras that I actually like. None of them are particularly good. So I'm going to have a rant about that. So in the world of mirrorless cameras, standard color profiles can actually look pretty nice. You don't have to use log to get nice color out of them. The Panasonic ones in particular, with the natural color profiles, can look really good. But action cameras, because they are aimed at more consumer orientated people, they tend to go over the top with the standard color profiles. The manufacturers work on the assumption that unless the image is full of neon colored grass, really over sharpened imagery, and just that kind of really over the top HDR look, then they will lose out to the competition. They'll think that people don't think the image looks good. And to a certain extent, they kind of have a point, because the general populace, I'm afraid to say, doesn't really have any idea what a nice picture looks like. You know, they go into a TV shop and they see the smooth imagery from those horrible frame interpolation modes on the televisions there, with the saturation really going through the roof. And they think it's the television producing an amazing picture. But, you know, I don't want to have a rant about those people, but I would like more control over the standard color profiles in action cameras themselves. So if people want to have all the oversaturation and all the over sharpening going on, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But sometimes I want to have a nice color and image out of the camera, straight out of the camera, without needing to grade, without having to go through the D-log or log grading process, just for speed. So when I turn the sharpness down to a minimum in the standard color profile, I'd like that to be the case. But unfortunately, it quite often isn't, because there's lots of tone mapping going on, which, you know, gives you all that dynamic range into a standard color profile, but it goes over the top somewhat. Now on a GoPro, you can control it to a degree. You can use the, what do they call it? The flat color profile, that's the one I was looking for. The flat color profile on GoPros is still around, and it still looks pretty good. And it might need a little bit of a boost in the saturation and contrast, but generally it looks fairly good coming straight out of the camera, and I think it looks better quite often than the cinematic profile and the so-called natural profile. So GoPro does have an option, but generally its standard color profiles are not brilliant, especially on skin tones and stuff like that. And the DJI, which I'm using at the moment, again, it can look really over sharp and over processed. And at the moment I'm using D-log M, and I'm going to be putting a basic grade on it when I get back. But I shouldn't have to. I'd like to be able to use this color profile and just have a great color, some nice pop to it, but not completely oversaturated and over sharp. A natural looking image that just looks generally nice. So what's the solution to all this? Well, it would be really good, I think, if action camera manufacturers, along with the log profiles that they offer, it might be nice to be able to upload a LUT to it. You know, maybe an ARRI emulation LUT or a Fuji emulation LUT that can bake that in to the log recording. And that, again, you know, that would give us some flexibility on what the image looks like and give us much more control. And, you know, I think, you know, we have to get a balance, because obviously the manufacturers do want to give the non-technical people that wham bam look that they always crave, or they think they crave. But at the same time, power users, I think, would like a bit more control. You know, I do like grading my footage, but I don't always want to grade. Sometimes I just want to be able to take the footage and just edit it and not have to worry about grading it. And the reason I use log a lot and the reason I do the grading is really a lot of the time because I don't like the standard color profile. Using the log profile is the only way you can kind of bypass all that over the top processing and an over sharp look. So that's the reason I do it. I know a lot of people out there, creators out there who are, do videos like you don't need log, stop shooting with log. And they've got good points. But unfortunately, when you don't shoot log, you kind of end up with that really baked in, over the top look. So that's why I use log a lot of the time. It isn't just because I want to grade the image. It's because, sometimes I will just take that footage and I will put the ARRI Color Science emulation on it because I think that looks really nice. And sometimes that will just go straight out. I won't do anything else to it. But it gives me a nice looking image straight out of the camera-ish. But if I could bake that in to the recording, if I could upload a LUT that does that for me onto the camera, that might work pretty well. So, yeah, this is a pretty short video today. Thought I'd give you my thoughts on this. I'll be interested to know what you guys think in the comments below. And yeah, if you like this and you like my other videos, consider giving me a like or don't like, whatever you feel like, and maybe even a subscribe. And I've got a very interesting video coming up next week for a new camera. You'll want to see that one. So that's it for now, and I'll see you all in the next video.